Hi, it's Leslie. Sister Wives. Nothing like a reality show to reveal all the dysfunction behind relationships. For so many seasons, we've just wanted to go up to these women and shake them and tell them they deserve so much more than Kody.
I've had three wives threaten me to leave me, on and off our entire marriages.
And finally, in this season, we're starting to understand why this has been going on for so long. But let's just first jump in with COVID.
So I spent my whole life trying to be the hero for my kids, working hard, doing everything I could to support them, to help them, to be there for them. And now because of this COVID situation, they're trying to make me the villain because of COVID, because of protocols.
So let's just take COVID. Kody believes that COVID has been the reason why all his kids are starting to hate him. And my issue with this is that your relationships with your kids are not just made in a year or two. They are made since they are born up until that present time. So if it's a strong relationship, a year or two of COVID should not damage it. So Janelle and the kids have COVID, so that's fine. And Christine is not behaving correctly, so he can't go over there, nor does he want to go over there because he's not into Christine. He's not into Mary. He doesn't want to go over to Mary, even though she's following the rules. He doesn't want to go over to Mary. The only one he would like to go over to is Janelle, just because Robin doesn't want him full time at her house, so it's a nice little diversion to be able to bounce back and forth between the two houses. But let's take Robin, the favorite wife, who I also believe is the favorite wife. She has followed his rules. She's followed his rules. She's made her girls follow his rules. Of course, her girls, I don't believe, are adults, so it's a lot easier to follow those rules when you don't have a life outside of the house like most adults would have, children that are adults, like Janelle's kids. But Robin, her life would be very inconvenienced if she wasn't able to have her babysitter over, because she says her and Kody are very busy during the day. So she has to have her babysitter over, and that is not following his rules. But that little asterisk was made, that little exception was made, and therein lies the problem: is that once you start making exceptions for certain wives and not for others, jealousy, which is a natural in this messed up situation of polygamy, is going to flare its evil head, and sure enough, it did. And they are all starting to resent Robin, as they should, because she's getting special treatment. The adult sons, they've seen how their parents, how their mother has been treated, like Janelle and Christine's kids. They're not little like Truly. She might be clueless as to what is a good relationship, but the adult children see that their mother should be treated better, and they realize that they are not being treated like Robin is being treated by Kody. And this is just a dysfunctional thing from the beginning. And when I think back to this, which is also a frustrating thing, Kody has taken on too much. If he was not able to have these great relationships with all these kids that he has brought into the world, knowingly brought into the world, willingly and wantingly brought into the world, he should not have been taken on anymore. Because if you go back like 10 or 12 years, things were not great with these wives. I don't know if any of them were great at that point. We know now Christine, I always thought she was the happiest one. She was not happy. Janelle is getting what she wants, which is not what Robin's getting, but I guess she doesn't really want anything other than just maybe some casual friendship, whatever, and just be around kind of for her kids. And Mary's been out of the picture, and Mary is totally fine with that. But at that point where he has three wives that are not doing that well, he decides to take on a fourth. Ridiculous. He's taking on too much. And if you really cared about your children, you would dedicate your time to having good relationships with those children, so that when COVID strikes, you're not at the mercy of the mothers to dictate whether you have a good relationship. You should already have a strong relationship at that point, and they would not just, carte blanche leave their mother and dismiss their father. Anyway, he took on Robin, I think, because he was frustrated. He wanted someone else that he was attracted to sexually. So, hey, it's time for the fourth wife. Bring her on, and just let the other relationships and their kids just fall as they will, and now cry, that, oh, I'm being so wronged. Basically, everyone is miserable. Robin is very unhappy. She doesn't want 24/7 miserable Kody at her house, but that's what she has now, because he has nowhere else to sleep unless she can convince him to sleep on the couch, which is what she's pushing for. And now let's go on to Christine. Christine and Kody, he tried. First he was very pissed and tried that approach. And then he tried the guilt that, oh, it's not good for the children. We might be scarring them if you decide to leave. She was not having it. She was saying, I'm moving this far, I'm leaving. And Kody now had to backpedal and try to be sympathetic and kind Kody, which I think he was just trying to play her. And Christine wasn't having it. She's leaving anyway. And Kody was upset. He's like, I just figured it would hit a point where we go to therapy. Well, what are you waiting for? It has to hit the point before you open your mouth and say, okay, it's time to go to therapy. No, the time in which someone says to you, I'm getting a divorce, you missed your opportunity to say, let's go to therapy. And this just a little aside, Robin says that her and Kody are very busy during the day, and that's why they need the babysitter. And she doesn't like to ask Kody to help with the kids because he has so many responsibilities. What does he do? Does he have a job? I thought he was in sales at some point, but what does he do? Like, what does he do now? Are they all just like, it seems like all the women have to work, but what does Kody do? Is he out making money? I mean, his office is in his car. What's his business? I was just curious, what are him and Robin doing all day? And then we'll look at this little clip of Kody.
She made this decision without me, without checking with me. There was no fair representation of Kody in this relationship.
So he's upset that this decision that Christine made was made without him. Well, isn't that usually how it's done? I mean, if you were a team in a unit, you would make decisions together, but you're not. That's why she's leaving, and that's why she's getting a divorce. And yes, that is her decision. And it's funny, they aren't legally married, and that is another downside of this polygamist situation, is because, yeah, you don't have a whole lot of rights. She's not legally tied to you. She gets to pick up and leave. She probably doesn't get any, and maybe she could get, child support or something like that, but she's also lost out on all the other things and had to work her butt off while taking care of kids to have the glorious life with you and 3 other women that she's not too fond of. But Kody's upset because he sees all the relationships, well, not all, but many of the relationships with his children crumbling, of which he faults COVID and the mothers, that they've corrupted them. But if he had a good relationship with his children, no mother could change that, because that would have been their independent relationship. It would have been fine. Anyway, let's just look at this little clip, which is quite telling.
It's not normal for me to babysit my kids. I'm good at watching my kids, but I almost never do it. It's easier for me to pay somebody $20 an hour than to lose $200 an hour with the business that I have at hand.
And I just have to say, when a father watches their kids, it's not babysitting. It's called being a father. And if that's how he looks at hanging out with his kids as a financial loss, therein lies the problem to many of these situations. Anyway, thank God we finally are getting what we've all been waiting for all these seasons of Sister Wives. Christine is leaving, and Kody is miserable, can barely stand it because he's such an egomaniac that he can't believe someone would actually leave him. He just figured he could talk them back into staying, and how could they leave,
It feels like just this major injustice that is being done to me, and it galls me.
I did for a moment see Christine soften and was like, wow, that was the sweetest thing that Kody's ever said to me. And I was like, oh, no, he's playing you. He was totally playing her. He still has some little power over her, but thankfully she didn't fall for it and is like, no, we need to just be friends. It's me, that's all she needed to say was, it's about me and it's not you. And he wants to believe it's everything but himself that's the reason Christine is leaving. And it's nice that this not being a legal marriage has just made the process that much simpler. So Christine is off and running and probably living in Utah right here as we speak. But anyway, if you like my recap, of course, sucked into this one, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I will see you next week for another recap. Bye.